Alright, so we've just unboxed the Bumblebee Quadrotor offered by Hobby King, and I'm going to go through bit by bit what the parts are that we're looking at. It didn't actually come with an instruction sheet, so I've already put it together and disassembled it so that we could show you how to assemble this easily. So this is going to be a multi-part video. We're going to do maybe 3 parts. The first part being the unboxing and the assembly of the frame itself. The second part will be the installation of all the electronics. And the third part will be setting up the electronics and actually getting this thing in the air. Alright, so this is pretty much everything that comes in the kit. It looks pretty sturdy. Most of the parts, the arms, all the extension arms, the frame itself, pretty much everything is in carbon fiber. It looks fairly sturdy. Some of the things come pre-assembled. But we'll start from right to left here and kind of showcase what comes in the box. You have 2 different sets of props. You've got clockwise and counterclockwise props, and it comes with an additional prop, I'm assuming just in case you should break one. You got 4 brushless servo motors, DC servo motors. These pieces here that you see are the extension arms for the motor mounts. Here you have your 4 motor mounts. Not only is your motor mount, but it's a little compartment for your ESC that you choose to use. These are little covers for the ESC, and you'll see that we'll put that, and that'll cover the ESCs once we start doing the electronics in part 2. This is just a cover plate and a mounting plate. This cover plate will cover whatever electronics you choose to use in the main body there. And not only that, but I'm sure you'll want to mount other electronics to this. This is part of the landing gear. These are basically the extension arms that you'll see go out to the landing gear. These are just some stabilizer braces you'll see for the landing gear as well. These 3 pieces that you see right here it's a battery mounting brace. You'll see how that goes together, not only in this video but in the part 2 video. This is the main body. It comes assembled just like this. With all these little plastic bits on there. You can see that your motor arms are able to go into 2 parts so that you can kind of break it down so it's not such a big footprint. It's pretty slick. This is actually the landing gear itself. And this here is the freakish little body that comes with it. I didn't really know that this actually came with it, and ordered a second one from Hobby King. That was just kind of my mistake, but just know that it does come with a electronics housing or a body housing. I've kind of conveniently just laid out all the screws and a lot of the hardware that comes with it. You'll see that you got 2 different colors. You got yellow and black. It's kind of just like a little rubber bushing that slides onto your landing skids. Assume you got 2 different colors so you can differentiate what's front and what's rear. Looks pretty slick. So the first thing we're going to be doing is attaching the landing skids to the main body of the Bumblebee. This is done pretty easily. All the hardware is provided. First thing we'll be doing is taking these legs. One thing you want to note about these legs is that this whole system was designed to fold up so that it leaves a really small footprint. So the first thing we'll be doing is just attaching these little legs. It's pretty easy. You just need to take the slotted end along with the hole here, and I'll show you what the hole is for in just a minute. Go ahead and put the hole in towards the center of the body. Hold that in place. You'll get your little screws. I'm not sure what size these are, but you'll see that they have a little shoulder on them. And then at just the very end is threaded. You'll go from the outside, put it through, using your 2.5mm Allen driver. You just go ahead and secure these. I wouldn't over tighten it because these little brackets, I'm sure it's just aluminum. If you over tighten these steel screws into this aluminum bracket, you tend to thread or strip out the threads. So for right now, I wouldn't over tighten it. I would just get it snug enough to where it kind of can hold a position. All right. It's going to be pretty handy to have your little 6-inch ruler or something like that. You'll see why here in just a second. So the next thing I'm going to install is this brace for all intents and purposes, because what you'll see is this just slides into these two little holes here. I'd space it fairly evenly. 2 1/16. So basically you want about 2.5 inches sticking out on either end from the end of the bracket right here. And what you'll see is these little clips right here. These little baby clips right here. When you fold the landing gear up, it just kind of clips right into place. Pretty nifty little design. So we'll go ahead and repeat that for the other side. Pretty close. All right, next thing we'll be doing is actually getting the skids themselves. And all you do is you just basically take this carbon fiber rod and you just snap it right into place. Again, you want to make sure that it's evenly spaced. Just kind of snap it into place. Get some measurements. That looks pretty good. And as it's pretty universal all the way around, it really doesn't matter at this point. You're just going to designate what's front and what's back. So designating this as back because put black as back. So I'm just inserting these little nylon, or not nylon, but rubber bushings onto the skids and just button it up against to the skid arm. And then the second one I'm just gonna kind of leave there at the end. Next one I'm gonna do is the yellow, designate in the front. Just do the exact same thing. I'm just gonna repeat the exact steps on the other side. And for the most part, your Bumblebee should be pretty well set up. You may have to make some adjustments after this to make sure everything is square, so that your landing gear is nice and square. Obviously, for time purposes, we just did this kind of quick. But all right, next thing we're going to do is move on to the motor extension arms and the ESC and motor mounts. You can stop it. All right, we're back with the assembly of the Bumblebee Quadrotor. And right now what we're going to be focusing on is the extension arms for the ESC and motor mounts. We'll go ahead and put this all together real quick. All right, so first thing you're going to want to do is grab an extension arm. These are already pre-assembled. You can see you've got, basically it's a swivel mount right here already attached to this carbon fiber extension arm. And because I'm OCD, I'm going to have all my stuff pointing in the same direction. But the first thing you're going to want to do is to go ahead and snap this in. And I'll show you how this all works once we get it put together. So you snap this in. And you want to make sure that your holes are all lined up. Alright, so that one's lined up. You're going to want to do that for all four arms, and I'll show you why here in just 1 minute. Alright, so all the extension arms are secure at this point. The next thing you're going to want to do is to, this is kind of just temporary, just kind of show you how it all goes together. We'll get a little bit more in detail in part 2 when we do the mounting of the electronics. But we're going to throw this cover plate on for right now. Okay. And that just, you'll see that all these little plastic bits that are already attached to the frame, which it comes pre-assembled that way, they have little, I don't know, little pieces that are already, they basically sit in all these little slots that are already cut out in the carbon fiber. So that just sits on here nice and locks down on there. And now we can go ahead and start inserting our hardware. So now that we have our the cover plate for the frame on top, which is only temporary, what you're going to want to do is to locate the hardware that has basically a shoulder, a large shoulder on the hardware with only the end of it threaded. You'll apply a nylon washer at the end of it. This is going to be used for the pivoting of these arms, because obviously there's, you don't want threads in there. It's going to chop up the little plastic swivel point on the extension arms themselves. So with that being installed, the nylon washer at the top, you're going to drop it in this hole, making sure it's all lined up. And the reason for the hardware or the screw, the machine screw that has the shoulder on it, is so that this arm can basically swivel on that particular machine screw. Alright, then the next thing you'll want to do is grab another nylon washer and one of these little nylon washer. And there's a little nylock nut, and you'll put that on the bottom with a screw. And as this is only temporary, I wouldn't go ahead and tighten down. I wouldn't tighten this down too much, or it's going to wear that little nylock nut out. So we'll repeat that for the next three extension arms and call it good. Just to give you an idea of how this thing breaks down and folds up, what it's going to look like is you'll want to remove the pins that we're getting ready to install. But what happens is you'll see there's two little, I don't know, little semicircular places for these arms to lock into, and it's like that on both sides. So essentially what you can do is to take all the extension arms and fold them back and lock them in place. Not only do you do that with the extension arms, you can also do that with the landing gear itself by just pulling the arms or the landing gear back. You can see you have a pretty nifty small little package for, you know, putting it in your car or whatever, taking it out to wherever you want to fly it. So that's that. So next we'll just be installing the little pins that lock the extension arms into place. It's pretty easily done. All you gotta do is ensure that the holes are lined up. Drop these machine screws. Once again, these are threaded from basically from the hex head all the way down. Now these thread into plastic. There's a little plastic piece on the bottom of the frame that these thread down into. So once again, I just would not over tighten these, especially if you're planning on breaking it down fairly often. So I'm just kind of making sure that it's snug is all I'm doing. Maybe. There we go. Alright, so now those are snug. You'll see that the extension arms are no longer allowed to break down. Once again, I would just use extreme caution with tightening these down so you don't strip out the plastic on the inside there. Alright, the last thing we're going to do is just install the ESC and motor mounts. This is really easy. I'm not going to permanently or even try to permanently attach these to the extension arms, and the reason for that is I still have to route wires when I mount my ESCs and my motors through the extension arms, and I'd rather drop the screw that allows these to fasten to the extension arms once the ESCs and motors are mounted. So essentially all I'm doing is lining the holes up is pretty much all I'm doing at this point. So at this point we pretty much have the Bumblebee completely put together, at least the frame portion of it. We'll focus a little bit more on the electronics in the part 2 that we do on this video. One thing I have left to do is to put the battery mount. Alright, so we're putting the battery mount together. This is pretty easy. You just see you have a carbon fiber base plate that you'll attach the battery to itself, and 2 little extension arms that will essentially just snap on to these 2 carbon fiber rods here that the landing assembly or landing gear assembly attaches to. This is going to be pretty quick and easy. So once again, using a 1.5 millimeter Allen driver and a 3/16 inch nut driver, we'll be putting this thing together. So you just take these little plastic bits, line up the holes. You can see that the holes are slotted. These holes are fixed. That gives you a little bit of play with how you want to mount these. So I'm going to stick my little machine screw through there. Again, this is a little nylock nut here. These you can go ahead and tighten down because I don't think you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments to this. Alright, so the battery mount is fully assembled at this point. You can see it really wasn't all that difficult here. What you're going to do at this point is to essentially just go in between all the mounts, and you'll want to snap it to these braces or to these arms here. And you'll see that you'll more than likely have a variety of mounting options when it comes to batteries, so that you can use different types of LiPo batteries no matter what you want to use. They give you some Velcro straps with the Bumblebee, so you can secure your LiPo battery. I'm sure you can do that in a myriad of ways, but we'll get more into that when we're doing the electronics build portion of it in part 2. And there you have it.